Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent to me from a subscriber, and in his story, this is a perfect example of what I tell you guys all the time, that these things that you see in the movies and TV in terms of the guy chasing after the girl and giving up everything for her and all that other crap that you see, this basic sappy Hallmark Channel bullshit, is in fact bullshit. And this guy's going to tell his story. He tells it to me, and he uses it to help show you guys, obviously, what happens when you do all that stuff. You're going to see every step of the way it is clearly like one of these stupid movies. And in the movies, the guy does all these things, and of course he gets the girl in the end, and they live happily ever after and all that. But in reality, in real life, doesn't work that way. And you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about as I go through his story. And the guy ultimately learns a hard lesson. But fortunately, in the very end, he does learn the lesson. You'll see where I go with that. So, starts off saying, "Hey there, SSM. This is my story, hoping you can share and hopefully help other men who've experienced the same thing. It all started when I reconnected with this girl I knew when we were in high school. She was a year younger than me and went to a different school, but I knew her because my stepfather was my pastor." So she is the daughter of the pastor. Pay attention to that. Keep that in mind as I go through the story here. "And I had a major crush. My senior year, they moved. We lost touch for a decade. Life happened. I had dated, gone to college, and started a successful business and became a published poet. While she had married and settled down with a lazy, unfaithful, emotionally and physically abusive husband, and it says here she recorded him doing it. So the pastor's daughter goes with, obviously, the lowlife. The guy that's unfaithful, emotionally and physically abusive, all that. The nice guy, the nice girl who was the pastor's daughter. Does that sound like a cliche or stereotype? I think so. But this guy's going to come and rescue her. He goes on, fast forward to the summer of 2019, and she shows up on my Snapchat. So I figure, what the heck, and reach out just to catch up. She tells me about her life, how her son was donor conceived due to a condition her husband had, how her husband is chronically unemployed, how he says racist things and even demeans her to his own family, and why she's divorcing him, all stuff I didn't know. Sounds like a great guy, huh? Anyhow, we started dating in July of last year, and things started off great. We were flirty, sex was great, and like a fool, I never pulled out. We even planned our wedding in Charleston." Okay, so let's review. So he met her last summer, it's now October, but the summer of 2019, and within a very short period of time, like no time, she's obviously still with this guy, but she's cheating on him. She says she's going to divorce him, but she's still with him, so pay attention to that. That's about her character. And he's immediately rushing in to talking about getting married and doing all that, just within a very, very short period of time. Again, guys, the girl's in the abusive relationship, the bad situation, chronically unemployed, and this guy, after 10 years, they didn't see each other, they just happened to be on Snapchat, and now it's all beginning to become magical. This is the stuff you see in the movies. And like I said, what happens in the movies, they live happily ever after, but you're going to see what happens here. "We meet up for date nights at a fancy Italian restaurant in Chattanooga because she had never had a real date outside of burger joints. I go to Alabama to see her and her son, and she'd come to South Carolina to see me. I took her son on the dates with us, and even strangers thought I was his father, and I wanted to be. But there was a huge red flag I should have paid attention to. She wanted to keep me a secret from social media and her soon-to-be ex-husband because she didn't want him to go after her in court. It isn't just that. But being blue-pilled, I brushed it off even when she said, I like how you don't have too much pride to be kept a secret, or how she never deserved me. They always pay attention to that, guys. When they say that I don't deserve you, I never deserved you, that's a big sign. In other words, the girl thinks that she's trash, which usually she is, and is used to being treated like crap by guys. And guess what? They're conditioned to be that way. You start treating them well, eventually they'll like it at first, they'll take advantage of it, but eventually they're gonna lose attraction for you because they're thinking, hey, I'm shit, so why is this guy treating me so well? Something's wrong here. I can't respect a guy that does that because everybody else treats me like crap because I think I'm crap. And she ends up either just cheating on the guy, dumping the guy, something along those lines. It's not good. So pay attention whenever for you guys to date and do all that. Woman says stuff like, I don't deserve you, and things like that. That's a red flag. But why in the hell is this guy rushing in? This guy, obviously, he's a subscriber. He wrote to me. I mean, I'm not trying to give him a hard time here, but rushing in like this, you're crazy. You gotta take your time. Okay, first of all, don't get married. But if you absolutely have your heart set on it, you take a long time to get to know somebody. In a situation like this guy should have waited till she was absolutely free and clear, divorce was over, and all that. And of course, you see, she has a son, so he's going to now have to become a daddy, a father to this guy's child. It usually doesn't end up well because at the end of the day, that kid, for most of these women, is going to come first and providing resources for that kid. Now, if a woman is true, you get a woman that is head over heels in love with you, and you don't just have her mind, but you have her soul, that woman will do anything. She will jump through fiery hoops to get to you. She'll leave her family. She'll change religions. She'll move out of the country. She'll ditch her kids. It's horrible, but it's the truth. But it takes a certain kind of guy to get that out of a woman. But in this situation, you're going to see where this goes. He goes on, I even sold my business to make time for them. Never, ever, ever, guys. Guys, your purpose is what you want to achieve in life. Your business is and your big goals and all that. You don't make a woman your purpose. And this guy has obviously done well for himself, started a business, it does well. And he says right here, he sold his business to make time for her. And obviously because he's going to relocate for her, you don't do that. That's what makes you, first of all, that makes you you. That's your reason for getting up in the morning and all the work that it went into that. But also, that attracts women. What doesn't attract women is a guy putting on hold all the things that he enjoys, putting on hold his goals, putting on hold his purpose to make the girl his purpose. Wrong. The girl is supposed to make you her purpose, because for a woman, a feminine woman, feminine energy is about connecting and bonding and all that, not the other way around. Goes on. Well, of course, I did, because fate had brought her back to me, and she and our son were the one. You see what he said about fate? That's what you see in these movies, all about fate and the one. It's bullshit. She even asked me to move near her so we could be official the day of her divorce. November 15th. Dude, I loved her, and sometimes it still stings. But here's where my journey really began. Well, the journey already began, dude. But notice how she asked him. I know I keep interrupting the story, guys, but I got to point these things out along the way to make the point here and to give a lesson. She asked him to move to her. So she has the kid. This guy had a business in South Carolina. He's doing well for himself, but she wants this guy to pick up sell his businesses, basically pick up and leave from where he had a life to go be with her and raise her kid. Now, a woman doesn't do that unless she knows absolutely that the guy is head over heels for her and she can have her way with him. The reality is she should have cleaned up her shit, picked up her kid, drove to South Carolina, and been with him, not the other way around. But she knows obviously this guy is head over heels for her and rushing along for her, and obviously buys into this crap. But there's also other things going on, as you're going to see. In November 10th, I went down to Alabama for her birthday. Bought her a nice dress and went on a shopping spree. Gifts, and more gifts, spoiling her, doing all this stuff for her. What has she done to earn this so far? She had to work, and we were supposed to have a romantic weekend together when she got off. So before she went in, we kissed, and she said, "Have a baby with me." I agreed. Well, I left my wallet in her car and called telling her to just bring it to the hotel. She said I could pick it up if I wanted to, so I did. Well, she gets off about an hour later, and I get a call saying she had to rush to Birmingham to get her son. He's sick. And I ask why his grandmother can't watch him. No response other than because he'll want his mama. So I'm out hundreds of dollars for the weekend and the romantic weekend and the date and all that shit. But we keep talking and exchanging I love yous. But it gets worse. The day of her divorce, she's calling me, talking about how she's ready to be with me. Then crickets. For days. She's cold, standoffish, but I keep pushing. Eventually around Christmas time, she says she just needs time and we may have rushed in, but she does in fact still love me. So notice, guys, how this guy, in the beginning, obviously the sex was great and everything was wonderful in the beginning when, he obviously hadn't packed up his life in South Carolina, sold his business, done everything, and went to her. Before, he was his own man in his own place doing his own thing, and obviously it was exciting for her, but she was still married and cheating on her husband. Even if it was bad and she said she was divorcing, she was still with the guy. Pay attention to that. But now the guy picked up everything, went to South Carolina to be with her, the romantic weekends, all that, and all of a sudden she's like, big deal. My son wants to be with his mama, and she's all of a sudden becoming distant and cold and all that. Why? She knows she's got this guy. She's got this guy wrapped around her little finger. She can do whatever she wants, and he'll keep coming and asking for more. So you don't do that, guys. You focus on your purpose, your goals, and all that, and let them come to you. So for any of you guys that meet up with a girl that's out of state or long distance, have her come to you. I mean, you can obviously go see her, but in terms of like moving or anything like that, you never pick up a move for a woman. She comes to you. Otherwise, that's it. Otherwise, she's going to see you as being submissive and weak. And even if she doesn't realize it mentally, emotionally, there's going to be a change, just like this. Goes on. Stupidly, I still move to be close to her and her son in case they need for an eventual reconciliation. Pardon me, guys. I even get her a Valentine's Day gift card, a Brighton locket of the three of us at the Chattanooga Zoo, and a book of handwritten songs and poems dedicated to her and her son. So she's backed away from the guy. She's not giving the time of day. He moved there to be with her and all that stuff. And now he's giving her gifts for Valentine's Day, cards, gifts, all that stuff for her and her son. He's rewarding her bad behavior, okay? And if you think about it, if you're treating somebody badly and somebody just takes it and keeps giving you things, are you going to respect them? No way. And so it can go both ways between men and women here. So she obviously is losing more and more respect for the guy, but he keeps doing more and more. You don't do this, guys. If someone is showing you disrespect or you're doing nice things for them and they're not matching that, you stop doing these things. You back away. But this guy already moved and he's trapped. Goes on, well, some shit happens, it's her life, and lo and behold, she moves back in with her ex-husband. Anybody surprised there? The woman who obviously treated like crap by this guy and no job and all these things. After all this, does all these things for her, now she's moving back with the ex-husband. Isn't that nice for all the good things this guy did for her? I lose it. I'd offer for them to stay at my house, but she moves back in with him. That's my final straw. I call her a coward for running back to him and from having to face life alone. I left town for a week, long trip anywhere but there. This is when this guy, after all this shit, should have just said, you know what? I screwed up. Lesson learned. I'm going to pack up my stuff, move back to South Carolina. Sure, I'll take some shit from my friends and family, but hey, you know what? Everybody makes mistakes. And start over. But no, the guy continues on to stay there, and you'll see how this goes. Fast forward to May. I reach out because she has some things that my cousin gave me before he passed away when I was 15. We started talking again, and she explains that we were just friends, and that she was using me for sex. It stings, but I decide we can be friends because I'm mature enough for it. Guys, you never accept the friend zone. Okay? This guy did everything for this girl, packed up and moved. He believed her story. She's going to get a divorce. But once he stopped being a challenge, once he started being really easy and predictable and pretty much she says jump and he says how high, that was it for her. The excitement was over. The challenge was over. And moves back with the ex-husband. They don't talk for months. The guy's there living in her state, her home, waiting for her. And they finally talk. He finds a reason to contact her, which he shouldn't have done. And then she asks, can we just be friends? And guess what? You're going to see he goes along with this. Wrong. She tells me she left her ex-husband's house a week after our last text in March and moved to Chattanooga near her mom, seeing someone new who's 35 and she's 26. And I ask one thing, don't tell me about your sex life. So this guy moves down there, and now she's with another guy, another sucker that she's going to use, guaranteed, until she gets bored and he becomes like her servant, and she'll probably ditch that new guy and go on with the ex-husband. But meanwhile, the guy who wrote this email, she's now going to have him as her friend to go to and complain and tell all her, open up to and tell all her stories to and, let it out to, but she's fucking the other guy. Nice situation, huh? He tells her, basically he agrees to this and says, don't tell me about your sex life. She starts calling me 2, 3, 4 hour long phone calls. And the whole time she's calling her new guy dude and avoiding his name while complaining about his lack of ambition and how he needs to be more outgoing and quit working for his mom and pursue his goals. And he says in parentheses, to an ex that built a multi-million-dollar company in his dorm room, mind you. So she's hooking up with this other guy and she's complaining that he doesn't have any goals or ambitions, even though the guy who wrote this email had plenty of goals and all that. But notice he sold his company and stopped his purpose to come be with her and turned her off. So now she's with this other guy and complaining that he has no goals and ambitions. And she's using this guy, the writer of this email, to basically listen to all her problems and be her little friend. Wrong. He should never have agreed to that. He should have gotten out of town, but he also should never have agreed to this. She'll lose more respect for him. Also, she never told him about us being friends. But one day she breaks our rule. She has a pregnancy scare even though he's supposed to be infertile due to chemo the year prior. And I politely remind her of the rule and we agree to meet up for lunch the next day and get that stuff off to my cousins. Which we do, except she doesn't bring that stuff, asks me to come back for it. All these games she's playing with this guy. I now know it was probably a move. But fate again steps in as my car gets hit from behind the parking lot, rolling over me, and is towed. I'm in the hospital for hours, and she offers her place to me for the night while she stays at her new guy's. To which I say, if we're just friends, then I have no problem sleeping on her couch until my ride can get me to the AM. Get me in the AM. She argued with me, which could only mean she doubt one. This guy wrote this guy. Guys, when you write me an email or story, be sure to check your punctuation and spelling and all that, because when I read these things, I don't have time to correct all these things. So just, so bear with me, guys. But remember that when you write me these emails, I don't have time to go through and correct everything, okay? That's why this thing's a little off here in a few points, guys. But anyhow, so he gets a hotel. That was my red pill moment. May 29th, 2020. I was a man that had the respects of senators, millionaires, and government officials, but not of a struggling 26-year-old single mom with taste for, despite the seemingly anomaly of me, unambitious man-children. Well, it took him that long to finally see the light after all the shit he's been through, but he had to go through it to get there. Today, September 29th, I'm still young in my journey, but I'm 28, focusing my time and energy on taking the money I made from selling my first business to start getting regular coaching and mentoring, casually hooking up with a former Miss New York and working out regularly. Good for you, dude. Every now and then, it still stings knowing she's doomed and her son to mediocrity, but that's not my problem now. It never was. Maybe I'll be a dad one day. Maybe not. But what matters most is that I'm healthy enough to lead more men to the realization that worth isn't about the woman you add to your life, but the value you add to your own life. Women are just a trinket, not the prize. Thank you for helping me towards that light. Keep it up. So, again, like I said in the beginning, the moral of this story is all these movies, all the stuff you see in movies, TV, it's all bullshit, guys. This right here is like a classic story, a movie you see on the Hallmark Channel. Guy meets this girl after 10 years, they reconnect. She's in this bad marriage. The guy is her white knight that comes riding in on his white horse, and they have this magical time together, and overnight they decide to get married, and everything's great, and the guy puts his whole life on hold, sells his business, leaves everything behind to go move to be with her, to be the great role model for her son. And then in the movies and TV, they'd get together. They'd have a little drama because that's how these movies and stories go. But then they would get married, live happily ever after, the end. That's how the movies go. That's how it's sold to the public. But in reality, what happened was everything was great until he sold his business, stopped his purpose, picked up, moved out to be with her, and all of a sudden, once she knew that she had him, that's it. She was no longer interested in him. Started jerking him around, being distant and cold, and eventually just wanted to be friends. And this guy accepted. And then hung around in her home, waiting around for her, and accepted being her friend. And then she was dating, hooking up with some other dude. She was cheating on her husband. And then complaining that guy was not ambitious. And talking about all her problems with this guy. But eventually the guy sees the light and realizes how things really go. So guys, like I said, movies and TV are bullshit. Don't buy into it. Don't use that as a way to, guide you along your dating and pickup and relationships and all that. Because it's not going to end well. But this guy finally saw the light, and now he's back on his purpose and all that, and that's great. Okay? And I wish this guy all the best. I'm not trying to give him a hard time. He obviously is a good guy. He's a subscriber. But I'm just pointing out where he went wrong so that you guys don't make the same mistake in life, because he lost pretty much a whole year of his life, sold his business. Obviously the guy has money and he does well, and he's smart enough, ambitious enough to start over, because you can always start over. There's always opportunity to get a clean slate. Tomorrow's a new day, but it sure is hard when you were at the top and then you left it all for some chick. It's not worth it, guys. And a situation for you guys that do any long distance things, guys that do relationships, have them come to you. Okay? I'm not saying if you're dating, you get together near her place, she comes to yours, but in terms of a move, she comes to you. You don't change your whole life around. Otherwise, she will lose respect for you. And the odds are, in varying degrees, it could have a very similar outcome to this guy's situation. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.